Conversations from the Cave is a raw self-help podcast dedicated to discussing men's issues. From pornography to parenting, from religion to real life, from learning to loving. We discuss the real issues that affect real men every day. Join us each week for powerful, revealing Conversations from the Cave. Now your host, Kurt Kennedy.
Welcome to another broadcast of Conversations from the Cave. I am your host, Kurt Kennedy. It's exciting to be back in your presence today. We are doing a live show today, and once again, we are joined in the cave by one of my favorite people, the most beautiful Patricia Mendez. Trish, welcome to the studio. You're actually in the cave today, for real.
Well, thank you for having me back.
We received quite a lot of input from last week on our show, the live version of our show, from primarily women. We didn't get as much input from men, but we got a lot of input from women who had a lot to say about their thinking about what we shared last week. So we decided, and had already previously discussed, doing a part 2 of this discussion, what women really want and what they really don't want. So just as a refresher for those of you who haven't heard the show from last week, the show basically discussed many of the issues that men face when trying to find the right way to both approach women and sometimes the wrong way to approach women. We also discussed the importance of understanding how to be prepared to engage in a relationship, particularly those who are considering a long-term relationship, and we'll revisit those just a little bit. And then finally, the discussion about what was important to this particular woman who was sharing her opinion about what men need to do to be prepared. So, Trish, can you remind us, well, first of all, once again, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Last week was just a treat, given the fact that we rarely do shows together. You have your own podcast, of course, which you do on a regular basis. Would you like to share that, or?
Sure. My podcast is Trish Mendez, and it's just my little golden nuggets of wisdom. Pretty much just my thoughts on certain things.
So be sure to check out her podcast. It's also on Spreaker.com. We are going to get into last week's discussion, a touch on some of the points from last week. And, sorry about that. A couple of extra sound effects there. It was supposed to be this one. Okay. But seriously though, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that were controversial last week. So you shared that women don't like men who are pushy, annoying, and loud and have a lot of machismo. Could you talk to us a little bit about what that means?
Well, before I do, I just want to say that these are my thoughts on the topic. I'm not saying every woman in the world is going to be in agreement. There might be some that are, there might be some that are not, but this is just my perspective on the topic.
Awesome. And what would you, so tell us a little bit about some of the things that are important to have before you decide to approach a woman. Suggestion.
Right. Well, confidence is good. As we said in the first show, confidence without arrogance. There's a difference. And a confident man is just, I don't want to say delicious, but it's nice. It's nice to be approached by Now, you notice I said confidence, not appearance.
Right.
And that is important as well because, of course, like we did say in the first show, appearance is important, but it's not everything. It's probably the first thing that's going to catch your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think a lot of people tend to say, oh, no, I'm not superficial that way. And they're kind of embarrassed to admit that. But, honestly, that's the first thing that gets our attention. And then, of course, when he does approach you and he's confident and kind, that's just a plus.
What about, you talked a little bit about personal hygiene. That was a big issue last week when you talked about appearance. So you don't want some greasy dude walking up to you who hasn't.
Smelly.
Right. Yeah. So personal hygiene is a big plus, I take.
Yes. Someone who takes time, I'm not into that metrosexual look, which, you know what, that's fine for some women, but just a man who takes the time to groom, get his hair nice and wash it and trim it. And if he has a beard, keep that looking nice, and just, their nails aren't full of,
Mm-hmm. No woolly.
They're not dirty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his clothes are clean, no stains, and he doesn't stink. And of course, cologne is always a plus. In my humble opinion, I enjoy a man who smells good.
Nice. Let's talk about bringing to the table the notion of how to approach properly. There was the analogy or the illustration used last week where the gentleman decided to drive up in his motorcycle, play very loud music in front of the Target store to attract the attention, park right in front of the door, and everybody who walks by try to talk to them. And you said that's probably not the best move. What would you say is a better approach?
Something that feels natural and comfortable, doesn't seem forced or kind of spontaneous.
Is location important?
Yes, I would say it is.
Okay. Yeah, so someone standing in front of the woman's bathroom would probably not be appropriate.
That would be alert.
Right. Okay.
Or
So
like at a funeral. I mean, you don't want to be approached in those type of places.
Okay. So not around dead people, not around when you've got to go to the potty. What would be places that are better to at least approach? Or do you think there aren't good out in the community kind of things because you don't know the background of the person? Or is it unsafe?
I think, meeting someone in public is always safe, but there are places, that like a grocery store, maybe a library or a bookstore, or if you're shopping, I think that those are safe places because, again, you're in public and he can strike up a conversation on, can you help me pick some apples or bananas or something, just something like that.
There was the discussion that we sort of touched on last week with the online dating. We talked about meeting in person. I would offer that possibly churches would be a better place. Also, yes. social meeting places, churches, common interest groups, for example, museum tours, cultural meeting places, for example, concert halls, things like that. A lot of times people don't go to those alone, primarily because they're used as a social outlet, but they have other kinds of events that allow you to enjoy company. Art classes, community classes, those are, community theater if you're into the arts. Those are things that I think are very safe and common, comfortable areas to just meet people. And it doesn't have to be anything serious. So you're not really put in a place of stress because of those environments. You've had a wealth of experience with online dating, and you've talked about this a little bit in the past about things that are pros, cons, to-dos, not to-dos. And I would like for you to share maybe an analogy or an experience that you had, and then talk about what was right, wrong, and what could have been improved.
Okay. First of all, online dating, I understand is a big thing now because it's a lot easier.
Swipe right.
Yep.
Right.
But it can be tricky. Now, I did share something. It wasn't a personal story last week, but I have to say, I had pretty okay experiences. There was one where a gentleman, he actually looked like his profile. He didn't look, 20 years older. He was a firefighter and he was, strong and built. And I thought, wow, this will be fun. I don't know if I can share this.
Oh, you can. Feel free.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Share the
Lordy.
experience.
Lordy. Well, so we decided to have some coffee, and I thought, okay, that's safe. We went and we had coffee, and then he starts talking about exercising, and I love to exercise and work out and stuff. So I thought, oh, this is great. We have this in common. So, but the exercising he was talking about was, he felt that his little guy there was a muscle, and he exercised it.
Oh my!
Through masturbation. And I'm thinking, is this a conversation we need to have on our first meeting over coffee? So it was downhill from there, and it was just, he, even though he looked good on the outside, the inside was just crazy, and I ran. Then I had
bummer.
another experience with a lovely person, and it was wonderful, and we continued to see each other. It was just a nice experience.
Right.
There was mutual interest, mutual respect. He wasn't a pervert. It was just a real nice experience. So you can meet nice people, but it's real dangerous. And if you're going to go that route, I highly recommend you tell a friend where you're going.
Sure.
It's just safer. I mean, there are crazies out there. Just give it a try. But be safe. Always be safe.
Do you feel that online dating has replaced, and having an online image has replaced genuine human contact, or do you think that because of the times and the issues of people not being out and about, that it becomes more difficult to date nowadays as a result of that?
I would say yes and no.
Okay. Share with me.
It can be a place where people feel safe because they can make themselves out to be whoever they want to be. So that's tricky because then you don't know if you're actually going to meet their actual person, if they're being sincere or they're just being who they think you want them to be. That makes sense?
Yeah, taking that Facebook picture. Yeah,
selfies, Instagram.
Yeah,
that social profile. Click, click, click.
Yeah.
But then, on the other hand, for people who are super busy and they may not have time to go out to the museum or cultural events or music venues because they're just so tired or whatever, and that's a way that they can meet people. So it could be good and it could be bad. I think it's what you make of it and how your mindset going into it.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a challenge when you talk about social media dating? The stigma of that, has that dissipated, or that, being on social media, doing social media dating is kind of for losers?
Oh, no, I think that's harsh.
No, I mean, I
know some people say that.
Yeah. It's like, wow, you can't even get a date, so you got to go online to try to find, to pick through the leftovers. Is that
maybe that, and I'm sure people say that, but again, we don't know everyone's story. Like I said, maybe this person works all day and they're exhausted when they come home, and the last thing they want to do is go out and try and meet someone. When they're not at their best. Whereas if they're at home and they're relaxed and they've had their dinner or their tea or whatever, they can sit in front of the computer and, try and find someone that way.
Right. They could try. Thank you for sharing. I think there is, although I can't speak as an expert because I certainly don't have as a lot of I really don't have as much experience on the online thing. Are there safety protocols in place where there's verification on this, or is there, what is it that makes it better than, going to your church and, or whatever, or your going to the bar? How is it safer than going to the bar and perhaps, not ending up shot? I guess that's one pro. I mean,
Wait a minute. I can't.